to come up with a better intro. I say the same thing every time, but it's February 2nd, and this is the database team meeting. Well, let's jump into it. I didn't see anything on the board, any new issues. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jose, or anybody else. All right, then we'll jump to the one. This one was brought up during the intra-dev meeting. It's the CPU utilization peak times on the projects table, and I was wondering what the next steps were. I thought it was odd that it was brought up in that meeting. Jose, do you know why it was brought up in there? Is this really, as Andreas calls out below, is this top 5 performance problem?
I am not aware why exactly this issue from the projects table. What we did in this type of issues, we are looking for marginalia. To reduce or use caching. As far as I know, the 2 issues that we should have a look, if possible, is for the CTE, namespace CTE, and the second one is a select $1 as from CI tables, CI pipeline, sorry. I can give you the issues in a second. But yeah, from my side, one thing that we started to work on analysis as well now is to share with everyone, please, is the looking for requests that are being executed by Sidekick on the primary to analyze the volume and load, and trying to think about if we will manage to find a way to move them to secondaries. But it's just the latest new research that we are doing.
Yep. I saw that issue come across this morning. I don't have a link to it here.
Great.
And there was a note about this project's one. It is moved, or should we move it to continuous integration since Gregor's working on it, Giannis?
So yeah, Gregory has offered to check it. I'm not sure how much time he has. So I have some thoughts in there. So we have 4 issues on queries that are select star from an entity by ID. So there are lookups by ID, and Jose has done a very thorough analysis using sampling for all of them. So for 3 of those, for the projects one, the namespaces one, and the users one, what I can see there is that we don't have a clear winner. We have a lot of queries, so we know that those queries originate from many places. We're not sure yet from how many places, because this sampling analysis is not exhaustive, and maybe if we continue with longer term analysis, we can have more offenders. But at the moment, we don't have a clear winner, and I'm worried that whether this Gregory, for example, for products, the lookup for products, the one that was brought up in the InfraDev meeting, whether we will have a clear game there, or we will spend time checking all those places that are equal in the number of queries that they generate. So this is a question for everyone. And I was thinking, as a proposal, maybe we could, those 3, we could wrap them if everyone agrees. We know that those are very queries that are very often executed. We have the analysis by Jose has shown that we have something between 500 and 1,000 per second for most of those. So we know that those may be problematic, but we also know that those are very quick sub-millisecond queries. And unfortunately, we don't have a clear winner after this analysis. This is not the case for taggings. So for taggings, we know that we can see from the analysis from Jose that, for example, that build queue worker creates a lot of queries. So my opinion is that we should continue checking this, and maybe we can find something there. But my proposal there, if everyone agrees, I don't know, Jose, what you think about that, is that for the projects, namespace, and users, maybe we could wrap those and revisit them when we have more statistics, or if we continue seeing those as a problem, like, for example, what Andreas discussed. What do you think?
Okay, I understand. You think it's a good approach. My point is like we will get more statistics, I think, in 2-3 weeks, because I'm trying to export more metrics from what we did here. The information that you have in the issues is some sampling that we collected, me and Nikolai, and we analyzed it. I'm proposing to collect now constantly from PGStat activity, more samples and more comments, and then we will have a huger base or a larger base for analysis. So I think you can revisit this if you want.
Yeah, I did. From what we have now, so we have if we check the statistics that you have generated, we have a lot of that are equal in size. So we have 6, 6, 6, 5, 5. It's not like a 35 and then 3, 2, 1. That's why I'm discussing those three. We could leave them open for 3 weeks if everyone agrees, and then we can revisit them. And if the new analysis shows the same, maybe we can think about it then, and we can follow with the taggings. I totally agree that the work on the sidekick and sending queries to the secondaries and figuring out what the impact of sidekick is on master is way more, will have way more impact, I think.
Thank you. I would like to ask one more thing here in the meeting. Any one of you were aware of the change on the weekend on some, please, I'm trying to be blameless here, but just to share awareness. Like we had some changes, some cron job, and like if you see, like simply the database was burning the whole weekend. We had spikes of 90 to 100% of CPU utilization during, no, it was not nice. Is that I can share the issue with you guys, with everyone, sorry. 3664 production. 1 second, I will get you here. Because like, unfortunately, I felt that we had a change that impacted directly the database. I wasn't aware, and I feel that perhaps your team as well not,
What kind of cron job was that? Or
the monthly CI budget, reset triggers, I will send here the issue.
No, okay, that one. Yeah.
I will put here just in some space that I found here. Is the 3464 if you want to have a look, anyone. And here,
Have we seen a similar problem the months before, or is this a new one?
if you check, let me point you here, okay, incident. The funniest thing or the sad thing is if you check in my comment, the next one that is like where I did a comment, I did some research and we had a spike, but was one spike at 3 a.m. for a few minutes. Okay, and unfortunately someone tried to optimize it and go down, please, scroll more down, please. Here you have this is, if you go up a bit now, over. You will see like I have a comment about, this was the last month, you see just one big spike reaching almost 90 or something. As you had, this is from the last 2 months. If you go a bit up, you will see like how it was during the last weekend. Bit more, please. Here, you see, like was much more massive. Wow. The spikes constantly. They tried to spread the job during 24 hours and the result was a massive impact on the database and the applications. For the application, it seems to be not so negative because they will consider this a severity 3. But I raised this from the database perspective, was pretty dangerous.
Have you had a chance to reach out to the CI group?
Yes, they are. Yes, I spoke
Okay.
with them, some notes there, but just I would like to know if you were aware of this or not before the rollout, because I think like some of us should be involved with this, try to evaluate the change or so on,
So I haven't seen this before, but if it had sort of do we know which change was causing this? Is there a single change that caused all of this, or?
Yes, I will give you the link.
We have an MR, yeah.
Yeah, I will share with you, with everyone.
Yeah. I remember the discussion that they were discussing about this job creating problems, but yeah, I don't remember the
Yeah,
MR.
but here one person answered me because I asked exactly this. What was the change? Someone could point to me, and was like Cherry Lee answered me here. This was the GitLab Pro 2968. I will share here.
Just from the labels, it doesn't look like it had the database review.
Nope.
Yeah.
So basically, it could be the case that this is just an application behavior change that in the end has this effect on the database. But sometimes hard to catch those changes and sort of tag them as, well, we should look at this from the database side. Because
the other issue I want to share here, but this one was the GitLab org epic 4840. Let me share with you. Because it was the same group, and just trying to avoid this for the future, no? Is this 4840, please, if you can have a look. Yeah, thank you.
so this is basically saying that we don't have this job anymore, but rather provide those statistics in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, as a reaction to this, Yanis and I had a quick chat in the morning. I think one thing that we can do in the database group is to raise awareness, right, for these things needing review and needing input, because I think sometimes it's not that people wouldn't ask; they may just not know that they can ask, right, and that actually helps in the end. And so there may be a little bit of drumming the drum so that people are aware, right? And that maybe I think there are some examples where where we can say like, look, this is something where we can help, and that would be a good thing. But yeah,
Okay.
because I don't think I think from a scalability perspective, like I think the database label is used as if it has it, right, it will be triaged by this group eventually. But if people just make changes, especially on the application layer, it's probably impossible to catch all of those things. So it's like, how will you know?
Yeah, because from what I understood there, I don't know in detail the change, but it seems that was a massive update there, that like we got some problems with the statistics, and we needed to run some vacuums there, or auto vacuums manually to fix the situation. And just sharing with everyone. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting because what they did is that they just spread the jobs over 24 hours. So it's not like they changed anything in the batches or anything else. They just spread the jobs over 24 hours instead of 8 hours that they have there. So instead of this seems like a nice idea, because instead of hammering the database with jobs for 8 hours, they spread them. So I wonder why, yeah, maybe this is what you're saying about a vacuum kicking in between and causing more issues in the end. Interesting. Thank you, Jose.
I don't know if we'd have been able to catch this from code review. You know, just looking at the changes like a 2-line change. I guess I can only guess it's very hard to make that conclusion.
Yeah, and this is counterintuitive because you would expect this to be better, but it's not. And it's I assume that it's what Jose says. Maybe there is this thing where, yeah, auto vacuum kicks in, and then you have the new job, and yeah, when we were hammering the
solution. Sorry to interrupt you, Yanis. Auto vacuum was managing to collect better the statistics and cleaning a bit the table. But my point here is, I'm asking you because you, the team here has more experience than I. If you will have executed this in a database labs, perhaps we would see some strange behavior, or do you think it wouldn't happen?
Database Lab's going to show CPU spikes though. Like maybe they have efficient queries, but they're just running so many that it's killing us.
Okay.
Is this going to happen again next month? Like,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I just
the other times, if I remember, if I recall correctly, Jose, the other times also somebody from the SRE team will have to go in and run auto vacuum manually. Am I right? This is also what we were doing.
What happened the last months is like we had an alert on that tuples. Then you run out of vacuum. Okay. We are happy. The vacuum is fine. Okay. But we had just one spike in 2-3 a.m. in the weekend. That was thankful in the first of the month. Because my main concern here is like, thankfully this run on the off-peak time or weekend. Because if we execute this during a Tuesday, I think the impact could be higher.
So is this saying that it's basically showing the same behavior as it did in the last month? So we saw the spike before in the last month, but it was only once, and now we're seeing the same thing happening just all over the weekend, which creates noise and problems. Okay.
Exactly.
Because
so you could say that
they spread it out, right? It's spread out now because they intentionally spread it out, whereas before they just ran it once and we had that massive spike. So.
Right.
Just from my understanding, sorry.
Go ahead, Fabian.
Did somebody actually have to get up at the weekend at an odd time and look at this? So is this like an alert thing where somebody was paged and then you have to look at it? And is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, SRE was involved with this all the time, and they found out like running out of vacuums at the end, normalizing the situation, so we were fine.
Okay. But I think it's maybe worth highlighting and connecting with the team to say, hey, you know what, this is a priority thing that we need to do for before the next month happen, because the impact otherwise is, this is the impact on the database, but there's also a human impact, as in somebody will get paged if it's on the weekend, right? We should avoid that, right? Because that's that is, I think, kind of what we want to mitigate as well.
I will follow up this tomorrow.
The interesting thing is that the spikes lasted for so long, compared to the past times.
Okay, who's going to own the follow-up with the continuous integration group?
I will ask with the IMOC or the manager on call that was there. I will talk with Brent tomorrow, and I will follow up this, because I am afraid that since SRE sees this as a severity 3, perhaps can leave it without attention, and next month we have again an incident.
Yeah, I think what I would also offer, as in what I can do, or Yannis and I can do, is something that happens or may happen here is people from the product side will look at this and say, like, oh, we don't really care, right? because we have something else to do, and then it doesn't actually get the priority that it deserves. So if you feel this may not actually get prioritized, then you can maybe talk to us and we can just try to explain from the product angle why this is actually important.
All right.
I would do that in parallel with Jose reaching out just to make sure that everybody knows that this is a priority, because we can't have this happen again.
I'm sure we can. So
okay. We physically can, but we shouldn't let this happen again.
Yeah. Okay, then yeah, I can, like Janis and I can own the follow up on the product side.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So back to the other issues, Janis's proposal here. So are we going to deprioritize these until we get the further analysis from Jose? And the other one, projects too, right? And then we can still try to prioritize the taggings one.
Yeah, for the taggings one, we can contact the team for the taggings or someone. And everything else, my proposal is let's deprioritize them. And if we find something interesting in the new sampling analysis, that's my proposal, at least, so that we say, Gregory, to not focus on trying to solve the problem with products today and wait for us for 2 or 3 weeks, if everyone agrees.
Does that work for you, Jose?
Okay, sounds good for me. Yes, you need.
Yeah. Okay.
Pat, were you going to say something?
Yeah, the taggings one, I think I do agree we should prioritize it. I think there's it might even be a bigger issue than we know, because when I was looking at the one that went into triage recently, when we had the migration that failed on the namespace table because we weren't able to get the lock due to like a long running transaction, we found the statements were timing out, or the requests were timing out, not the statements were timing out. And I think there's an issue there with taggings related as well. Something with the gem that we're using, which I think was discussed in one of the issues. It's very inefficient the way it does it. If you add like 10 taggings to an issue, say to like a runner, it runs 10 individual queries, it runs 10 individual inserts. And I think in that case, particularly, it's hitting some like pathological case or something where it's basically stuck in a loop and it's trying to do like that, like tens of thousands of queries. And then the request is timing out. So I think the taggings is one that's worth looking into. I think it's a bigger issue maybe.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. But can you add a link to that on the issue that I have there for taggings, so that I can use it and check it and use it for the follow-up? Because we can connect those two. And
okay, so for these issues that we're calling out, we do need to update them with what we're doing. We're going to pause for 3 weeks until the analysis comes out. Janis, you're going to update? Okay. Thank you. All right. And one other thing I thought we could get through really quick, so we can just knock this one out. So we talked about creating an issue template for query performance investigations. My question out there was, do we still need this, or is Jose providing enough information with the most recent issues? And Janis, you got some feedback there. I think we need both.
That's my personal how I see things. So the statistics on how often queries run, what's the CPU cost, what was the load on the database, those are there to explain why we need to investigate and to justify that this is a problem. So, and then what Jose was adding after was the analysis with the sampling analysis or whatever other analysis we may do is used to debug and to figure out the root cause. So I think that we need both. I don't know if everyone agrees.
Yeah, and just having that issue template is good. I think we just document what we kind of want to have in those issues, and we can change that going forward.
Okay. Is there anything else we should add to this template now so we can start using it going forward? And as Andrea said, if there's anything missing, we can iterate on it. But I want to get a starting point. We can close this out, say we're all in an agreement, and then like I said, iterate. I don't think this needs to stay open or we need to spend a ton of time on it. I think we have a pretty good understanding of what we want now and how we want to proceed going forward.
Okay. May I suggest you add here the query ID? And the statement itself would be good for us to have an overview, no? Or what do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
You said statement?
Yes, SQL statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then we're going to use it also on the sampling analysis, the query ID, or whatever else we're going to run.
The best case, and I know this is not always possible, but in the best case, also a query plan and a specific query where you have those parameters, parameter values, right?
And may I ask how you are gathering this total number of calls?
That's from the bot monthly report.
Postgres checkup, right? Or
yeah, Postgres checkup.
Okay.
Yeah, if this stuff's no longer useful because we got it in the Postgres checkup, we can take it out.
I think it should be somewhat relative, right? Total number of calls compared to total number of calls for the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correctly. I agree with Andreas. So it's not just the total number as we get it from stat statements. It's the relative total number of calls. The relative number of calls. Yeah.
Like meaning how many we're having per second, right? Or
that's down here.
Okay.
So yeah, this is just in relative to the overall report.
So basically a way of saying that this takes 2% of our traffic on the database in terms of number of queries or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and in some cases you may not have that information, right? So you can feel free to just put NA on those rows. Like, I don't think these are all required fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is a good start. Should we go with this one?
Sounds good for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And this goes to the GitLab tracker, right? So not the database team tracker.
Say that again.
This will go as an issue template to the GitLab tracker itself, not for the database team tracker.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's basically just going to be, well, that's a good question. Do we need to create an actual template on the GitLab tracker side, or is this just going to be cut and paste for Jose?
Let's make it discoverable for everybody, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to know about this issue and sort of paste it in.
All right. I'll take care of that later on. While I do that, somebody else want to run through the board? The next thing to do is the build board.
Greg, I have another call now, if you don't mind.
Yep. Thanks, Jose.
Bye, Jose.
Cheers.
Yanis. I always imagine, maybe it's just me and I'm a bad person, but when people are muted and start talking, I always imagine them cursing. It's just like...
You guarantee I would be cursing if I'm muted and realize it. So.
Okay, I was muted. Okay. So here we are in our build. So am I going to go through them, or do you want to go?
Yeah, from right to left, I would suggest just high level, what's in production, if there's anything to comment on, and then we can talk about what's in review, if anything.
Okay, so we have closed 3 issues this week. So it's the add manual CI job. Clone. So Andrea, is this?
Yeah, I think that was closed last week already. Just for, are these issues gonna go away from the board, or are we going to see them being closed?
Oh, they're going to disappear.
Because we removed the label.
Yeah, I'm going to remove it now.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so this one is triggering the testing pipeline automatically. This already happened, so I'm getting a lot of pipelines being triggered on that instance, but they stop early because we don't allow everybody to execute them, basically. Yeah, that's the state of that. And I think the next one just got replaced by another issue, if I'm not mistaken. It was moved, so we can remove the label as well. And then lastly, Grafana annotations. This is for re-indexing. This is there, and then the next step is to hopefully enable the feature by next week, and then we'll see those annotations.
Yay, great. So we have in production 2 issues from Patrick.
Yeah, the first one really I think can be closed now. It's been more than 24 hours. I just wanted to make sure nothing was breaking, but I haven't heard any or seen any reports of anything. The second one, the first MR that's using it that this was blocking is going to be merged very soon. So I think I'll just make sure that that MR or that the new migration helper works properly, and then should be good.
Great. And then we have in review the blueprint, which will stay there for a while, I assume. So we are still waiting for Gary.
Yes, that's the status of that, yeah.
Cool. It's a great document.
Cool. Thanks.
So I don't know how long we want to wait for Jerry on that one, to be honest. I'd say let's give him the week, maybe ping him again, and if he doesn't weigh in, then we can just publish it and iterate on it from there. He's got a lot on his plate, so that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll ping him this week.
Okay, the conversion of events ID for the primary key. Patrick is working on it.
Yeah, so we sort of had a discussion about this a little last week. Giannis and Andreas and I, and so I think we need to maybe have a follow-up from that conversation. Basically, we're talking about, it's very hard to manage this migration because we don't know production timings really. We were talking about initially doing like a sampling approach so that we would change the schema, then roll out a background migration, maybe with a few different batch sizes to try to get a feel for where the right value is. But that's just all very sort of manual, clunky way to do it. And, we're going to have more of these migrations in the future. We know that we have multiple tables we need to address this with. So we're really talking about, there's a smarter way to do that, which is have better visibility into the background jobs so that we can, make that like a configurable value or something like that so that we can start the background migration and kind of monitor and adjust as need be as it's running. So I think we want to have a conversation around that a little bit more, sort of putting together some ideas, but also obviously we have a sort of a timeline that we need to get these migrations out. So I think we need to figure out if there's something that we can work on that's not going to be, hold this up too much, but still makes sense to do.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And I probably all have seen the conversation about the CI builds table growing today, and I think we were going to need a pretty reliable approach to fixing those issues, and we have a lot of these. So building something good there would be, I think that's really something we need for sure.
Yeah, and that was the request. Yeah.
Do we have
I was just saying.
All right. Do we have an estimate on when we're gonna run out of room on the events table? It looks like we're over 50% now. And if we think it's still gonna take a 6-month migration, I know that's the high side, but when do we start getting scared that we are way too far behind?
Yeah, we should be running the same analysis as we've seen today for CI builds, I think. For CI builds, that's the end of the year, so 12 months perhaps.
Mm-hmm. What about the events?
Which isn't too far out.
Yeah,
so yeah. Let's do the same thing for those.
Okay.
But what we checked last week, it was like a 2-3% per month, but we have to extrapolate a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I looked at this graph and it looked a little bit fake, as in every time in my life when I needed to make a point that something needs to happen, right, I just draw an exponential curve function and I'm just like, we're here, we'll be over there, right? So
yeah, but that's the best case scenario for GitLab. It's not it's the worst case scenario with respect to our deadlines, but it's the best case scenario with respect to our growth.
For GitLab, yeah. It's because of all the geo features I'm shipping. So.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I agree. And this is a request also in general, how can we make background migrations better and more reliable, more dynamic? So this is pretty interesting. But I think that we agree that we have 1 month to spare to work on this.
But I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there is a hard failure date on those things, right? At some point, things are going to just crash and burn, right? So in my mind, we should, this is the thing that we really need to get a good handle on. And I think, as Andrea said, this is likely going to happen in other areas as well. So, if we can't, then we still need to do it manual because but it's going to be very painful and error prone and all of those things. So if we can find a pragmatic solution to make this easier, I think that's good. But my worry is obviously, right, if we spend some months finding that nice solution and then it doesn't quite materialize, you're going to do it manually anyways, and then it's going to be really rushed, right? So I think we need to be mindful and probably time box our sort of effort a little bit as well. So like, if we can't figure this out by then, we're just going to do it at least for the next one that is going to run out of room, right? And then we still have, again, a little bit of time for maybe other things, assuming that the dates are not all the end of 2021. Maybe they are. That's going to be completely apocalyptic.
Yeah, we agree on that. And events table, even if it is the largest one, at least it does not have the effort that CI builds, for example, has, which has also 12 foreign keys, which will mean when we run the migration for CI builds, we will have to update 13 tables. So, yeah.
And we talked about this today, and we shouldn't bet on the refactorings that we are discussing, right? So we might have a big refactoring coming up for CI builds that also incorporates that. So we don't have to do it in that case. We're fortunate, but we shouldn't bet on that. And we need a good solution anyways, because we have these problems in other places as well. So perhaps this is a bit of a parallel effort, but it's still worth it in any case. And I think the sooner that we get to those deadlines, the more we also want to talk about an emergency kind of procedure, how to escape from that if we need to.
Is this maybe, and I don't know if you do this, but is this maybe a large enough sort of project to take an afternoon as a group with some coffee and map out those plans and talk about it sort of synchronously and just say like, okay, this is how it looks, right? And have that discussion so that we do this proactively rather than when things are starting to get a little bit out of the hand. Maybe actually, fun as well.
Yeah, that's we talked about having focus days, and we talked about them being Wednesday, and we talked about having that discussion today. So maybe that's a good thing that we focus on tomorrow, if everybody, like Pat, Andreas, Giannis, if you're all prepared for it. Just throwing it out there, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. And whatever help Pat needs there, I think that this is our top priority because we have a hard deadline. And so whatever Pat needs, we should provide him with as much time as he needs. And we should have as many synchronous calls as required.
I think nobody has ever said to me, we'll do whatever you need, Fabian, you know, because I don't tend to work on items like this. So I'm a bit jealous. Use your power wisely, Pat.
Yeah, Pat. You're the boss, Pat. Okay, so rename indexes. We have, this is done. Oh no, we're working.
No, it's not. We can skip over the next 3 ones because it's a similar state. I'm basically stuck with a broken computer and broken GDK, and I'm sort of unable to recover from that, which is really unfortunate. Otherwise, I would be working on the instrumentation. This is the next on the next tab, which enables us to actually use this testing pipeline, which also helps the other MRs because this is just migrations that we want to run on the database. And I would like to see those MRs run on the testing pipeline, but for that we need instrumentation merged. And this is not happening since yesterday because my GTK is broken, so I'm working on that now. Is anybody else's GTK working? Or am I the only person with those problems?
Mine's fine. Last I checked yesterday, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Good
know,
that gives me hope.
But we are using a Mac. Are you using a Mac also, Pat? Or are you using Linux?
No, I use a Mac, so that's, you know, it just works, right?
Okay.
Magic.
we are not true engineers.
Yeah, but at least Andreas uses a tiling array window manager, so we're definitely ahead of the curve.
That's a good point. Yeah. I can see error messages and sort of move them around very quickly.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So security review, this is an important one. We're waiting, but they have prioritized that this is prioritized for this milestone for the security team. Am I right, Andreas?
Yes, and perhaps we can even close this issue. They created an what was that called? Security. In their tracker, there is a dedicated issue for the security review. Maybe that's already enough, and we don't need that one.
Should we keep it to track that this is done on our end, or?
Yeah. I can. Yeah, I'll update it later.
Yeah, so let's keep it for our own tracking purposes. And this is my own, and because we have some issues with some customers that go back and forth, update and then downgrade versions. So the solution that we're going to propose, we're going to add troubleshooting sections in the documentation for Omnibus, because that solving this problem will require backporting 10 versions back. So we decided to just add sections on the documentation for this one. And there is a similar one that we are investigating how to also address. So in ready for development, I think that this one should go way down the list or removed.
Yeah, I think that one really can move out because the other, there's a second part to, or the related one to that, which is the third one, which is adding the migration helpers. That's something that we can potentially start working on once we figure out what we're doing. But the converting the events ID, we haven't even done the first part yet. So I'd say we're not going to tackle that for some months or weeks.
Yeah. hopefully in 2 months from now, we will be done. Yeah. Do you want to go through the other ones, or is there a reason?
The third one down, the issue template, you can assign to me and put it in dev or in review. Yeah, I'm just going to create that template and close it out. So.
Okay, I will do. Okay, and then we have the cleanup theme clone that is related to database testing, production testing.
Yes, let's keep that one.
Okay. Those two are related. No, this one we're investigating with Andreas how we're going to solve it. Most probably we will address it. We should address this milestone, and this is related to the one down here that I'm going to add. And are we going to finalize the audit events this milestone? But do you want any help so that you can focus on the primary key?
Yeah, it's really the actual dropping the table and stuff should be fast. It's really just the post analysis hasn't really been done yet. Which I would like to do so that we can clean all that up and be done with it finally. I just haven't really got around to it. So I guess if you feel that you have any time for that, you probably don't. You want to look at it, or anyone wants to contribute, I guess there's a number of queries on the MR that we merged when we merged the migration. So maybe we can just add a few more and I can kind of clean it up and, put it into something that's a little more readable.
Yeah, I think that will be enough together. Maybe we can use some of the queries we had for the benchmark and some of the ones that you have there, and we should be able to prove that this works and how much better it is. And then, yeah, we can drop it. And those two last ones.
Docker image, maybe not that important. This is nice to have.
Yeah. And I would just remove it from the board.
Yeah, I agree. And
yeah, that one I'm
sorry,
try to do this milestone.
Also, so okay, also remove the Okay, so we're going to remove 3 of those and focus on the primary key and the great.
Super. And is the current stuff that is remaining in ready for development consistent with our overall priorities? Are those the most important things that we want to do? Yes, right? That's always the question I'm sort of asking, like at the end, is like if these are now just, and I kind of know that they are, but that's always what I'm interested in. And given how much work is in dev and how many items are in here, I think there's nothing we need to schedule for the next week. I think, yeah. And again, I think what I'm most interested in personally is sort of the cycle time, right? So having issues that are small enough and really fine enough so that they can go from ready for development into being closed in a relatively short amount of time. And I think that is actually quite nice. So maybe that's something we can also look at some point. It's like if some of these issues are large, right? And if we can make them smaller, but that's for the future. I think in some instances here, it's just complicated, right? And you need to think about it and be careful, and that is perfectly fine.
Cool. Sorry about that. I need to leave very quickly. I see you guys later.
Yeah. We're at time. We can follow up with the rest of the topics in the agenda asynchronously. So I got to fall off too.
Okay. Bye, Greg.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. So the only thing is that we're also having a couple of issues in the triaging. So if Pat, do you need any help there? Do you want me to jump in and help there?
Yeah, I went through yesterday and really checked on all of them. I think more or less I know like the status of them. It's just a question maybe of a few of them where we want to put them. I'm not sure that I know. Or maybe there's a little bit of a discussion there.
Okay, I will also check them, because I can see that a couple of those we're going to work on them, so we know that we're going to work on them. So maybe we should move them to be ready for scheduling.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that got moved to scheduling. There's a couple more that that maybe we can move to.
Yeah, and the idea is that we have the scheduling list also prioritized, so it's easy for us to move things from there back to the active board, if Fabian agrees.
All right, I think I need to drop as well.
Okay.
But thanks, and thanks for running through the board. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, talk to you. Bye, Fabian.
Bye.